US chapter on two countries, one goal. My name is Masihullah Bangarwala. I'm part of HK Acharya and Company, and I'll be the moderator of this webinar. Your active participation is very important throughout this session. Right now, I'll request everybody to put your microphones on mute to avoid the background noises so that I will not distract you from listening to the webinar. United States and India are two of the most powerful and resilient nations of the world. They've survived and have overcome great difficulties and even thrived. With the synergy of working together, these two nations have, can, and will achieve great feats. And in that spirit, we'd like to commence this webinar, Two Countries, One Goal. I take this opportunity to welcome Dr. R.K. Pillai, Chairman and Founder Director, USIIC. He's the Managing Director of AIIPL Tech Private Limited, a leading instrumentation company in India, which is an associate company of AIMIL. He's working with AIMIL Limited for the last 30 years. He has a degree of BTech in Electronics and Telecommunication from NIT Surat. He's associated with various business partners from USA, Europe, and Japan in the field of instrumentation, and is the founder director of USIIC. I would now request Mr. Pillai to give his speech.
Warm welcome and greetings to all of you on behalf of US Commercial Service and USIIC. This is a significant webinar, and let me tell you, it is one of the most important USIIC seminar we ever had. The first time we are having the American side on our side for the first time, and we have started the US chapter. And it is a very good opening for the US chapter for us. As two democracies, both our countries share a wide range of interest, from economic prosperity to the use of clean energy. We are across every platform between both the countries. Both countries have the same vision in several areas. That is a result of consistently engaging strategic and commercial dialogue during the past few years. These talks define how both countries view the future with a common goal. Some of the areas of common interest, I'm sure, will be highlighted by the panelists today, but I'm sure there is much more topic of common interest, but due to the paucity of time, I will be restricting to very few of them. But I would like to tell you my experience, personal experience. I've been associated with the United States for over 3 decades. I still remember when we want to contact somebody in the States for our business partner, it was day and night. Today, the communication is just few seconds. It's not day and night. You can speak to anybody, and from America, you can speak in India. Those were the times when, communication was the biggest partner. The relationship was in darkness. Today, our relationship with US partners and same with Indian partners are one of the best moments ever. The opportunities for both of the countries are phenomenal. If, for example, anybody in India has got a product or has got a partner, it enhances their reach. We are proud to be partners in business in every walk of life. Our relationship right now, I think, is the best I have seen in more than 4 decades. And the opportunities lying in front of us are phenomenal. Both the countries should take these opportunities very, very much on the platform. And if we miss this opportunity, let me see, we will never get this again. Let us make this opportunity the best. And this is a opening platform which we have created between both the countries. So the topic is an ideal topic, one goal. And now it's a real privilege, and I warmly welcome Mrs. Brenda Vanman, the Principal Commercial Officer of US Consulate. I will just give a little bit of an introduction of Mrs. Brenda Vanman. And it's a real, she has been one of the highlights of our association. She has supported us in most of our environment across both the countries. She has been a hand-holding with all our trade partners, our business associates, and has helped us in many, many MOUs also. A lot of things of Brenda is very, very important that we all should know. She's a principal commercial officer assigned to Bombay, India since September 2019. In this role, she directs the commercial service teams in Bombay and Ahmedabad in assisting American business. But as our American partners remember that she is not only looking after Mumbai and India, for USA, she looks after the entire India. Remember that she handles the entire India for USIC for us. Previous to her Indian tour, she served in Saudi Arabia, Morocco, Poland, where she worked on high-profile advocacy cases, resulting in several billion-dollar deals for American firms. The reason I want to highlight this is that you have a person who knows the trade business and support both import and exports to India. She has got a real experience. Okay, remember that, and we should capitalize on her experience. She is also into aviation, energy, medical, and other sectors. Prior to joining the U.S. Commercial Service, Mrs. Van Horn enjoyed a career in the private sector also, where she worked as an international trade manager for consumer goods, manufacturing companies. This work resulted in numerous awards from industry groups, clients, government, including the prestigious United States of America President's E Award for Excellence in Exporting. We have with us one of the best person to support both the countries. We must really thank you, man, for being our chief guest today, and I hand it over to her to give us her in-depth sort of a supporting speech in the next few minutes. Thank you, madam. We welcome you.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you so much for the welcome and that really kind introduction. It's always a pleasure to address people and talk about India, but even more so when I feel that I'm in a group of friends, as the folks at USIIC have become to me. So I'm absolutely thrilled to be participating this evening with the new American chapter of USIIC. I was there when we signed the MOU to agree to cooperate as this chapter comes to life, and so it's really exciting to be working on that side of the ocean now. So thank you again for inviting me to this webinar, and you are providing a stage tonight for some thought-provoking discussions that will move our business communities towards a common goal, and I'm really pleased to be a part of that. But before I get started, I actually want to share a little bit of trivia with you. Between 1947 and 2000, that is the first 53 years of India-U.S. ties, there were only 3 visits by U.S. presidents to India. It was Eisenhower in 59, Nixon in 69, and Carter in 1978. In the last 20 years, though, since 2000, there's actually been 5 visits by 4 U.S. presidents. Presidents Clinton in 2000, Bush in 2006. Obama actually came twice in 2010 and 2015. And as I'm sure all of you are aware, earlier this year, President Trump made a multi-city visit, and that was a real testament to the strong and strategic partnership between U.S. and India that has evolved, particularly over the last 20 years. So wanted to just share that little bit of information with you. So the United States is the world's oldest democratic nation, and India has risen to become the world's largest democratic nation. So together, our commonalities have forged a partnership that we truly can say is 2 countries with one goal. Today, we cooperate and we thrive across virtually every issue conceivable: military and security issues, counterterrorism, trade and investment, energy, health, science, technology, agriculture, space, which is so exciting for me. I'm really happy to be working in this field. Education, we've got a lot of our education colleagues on here today, and that's just a few of the many areas that we cooperate on. We also share a common vision for the Indo-Pacific region and the importance of that region being open, free, and rules-based with respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity. It's a region that does not have predatory economic practices and that solves its disputes peacefully in accordance with international law. a region which the Deputy Secretary of State recently called Pax Indo-Pacifica, a region at peace, protected, and made prosperous in equal measure by those who comprise the Indo-Pacific. India's active role in that is crucial, and if India ends up being the world's third largest economy, as the goal is, the importance of that role will only increase. Well, anyway, now let's talk about trade. Trade, increasing jobs, and the economy. India in 2019 was the United States' 8th largest trading partner in goods and services. The overall U.S.-India bilateral trade reached 1.49 billion. In fact, India's bilateral trade with the U.S. surpassed their trade with China, which previously was India's top trading partner. So really important information there. This shift in the Asia-Pacific region is ushering in a new era of bilateral trade that will create significant opportunities for small and medium enterprises, both in the U.S. and India, as Indian importers are seeking to replace existing suppliers and U.S. companies seek new markets and supply and distribution chains in India. And I have to pause here for a moment to tell you that small and medium market or small and medium businesses are really where both USIIC and the U.S. Commercial Service work and make a huge difference. And I want to tell you a little bit about how the U.S. Commercial Service can assist companies when they're seeking new markets, especially small to medium enterprise companies. Our agency goal is to create American jobs through increasing export sales and promoting foreign direct investment into the United States. We do this through 4 pillars of engagement. Tradecraft is the first one, and that's doing things like matchmaking, promotional events such as this one, market research, industry trends. We create market intelligence reports on different industries. You can find all of this data, all of this reporting is on our website, export.gov, and I encourage you all to visit that and read our latest country commercial guide, for instance. The second pillar is advocacy, and this is where we advise and counsel companies that are bidding on government tenders. And often people think that this is only available to the really large companies. I think it was even mentioned in my bio, some of the large companies that I've worked with. But honestly, we work with all companies, large, small, medium, and whether it's state or federal or even some city tenders. We've helped companies bid and win. Often they're inexperienced in this role and they need a helping hand to guide them through the process. And that's something that the commercial service does really well. The third pillar is commercial diplomacy. This encompasses many activities that involve working with host governments to resolve trade irritants and to kind of smooth out the playing field, if you will. Our Consul General has frequently made a comment that we shouldn't get upset if we have disagreements, because you have disagreements with the people that you care the most about, not strangers. So it's common to talk through those trade irritants, and that's what commercial diplomacy is all about, resolving those things. And I have to say that it also is in resolving common problems, and in particular we use this one during the early days of the pandemic, when we worked very, very closely with our Indian government counterparts to keep the world's supply chain functioning, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. And then our fourth pillar is Select USA, which is our Invest in America program. This helps foreign companies establish operations in the United States. And I'm also going to circle back to that one in our discussion. But those are our 4 main pillars. Excuse me, it's late here, so I'm going to take a drink and soothe my throat. So about that first few weeks of the pandemic, it became very clear how integrated India and America's supply chains are during those first few days and first few weeks. We trade raw materials with each other. We value add manufacturing in each other's countries, and then we send those goods back. Finished goods are flowing in both directions and even onto other countries. we worked together on everything from opening manufacturing for much needed ventilator parts. We worked on getting laptops to call center workers who had been sent home to work from home during the pandemic. I personally worked on one project where there was a shipment of life-saving drugs, and not drugs for the pandemic, just drugs in general that had gotten stuck in India and they were needed all around Asia. And we worked with several different, not only American government agents, but also Indian government agents to get these life-saving medicines where they needed to be. It really illustrated to us the benefits of global trade and how important it is to work with other nations in cooperation. And also it brought home the message that free, fair, and reciprocal trading markets benefit consumers in both nations and also create jobs in both countries. And that brings me back to the point of how do we build on the goodwill generated by all these recent visits and this recent collaboration? How do we tighten the trade relationship that drives our two countries toward one goal, that of increased bilateral trade? I suggest that government and business leaders consider putting their energies into getting three important things right, and that is investment, innovation, and infrastructure. And the good news is that in all these areas, we believe India is heading in the right direction. You know, despite the pandemic, the government data coming out of India indicates that US and other multinational companies are really looking at this region as they move away from other countries in the region. India can capture even more of this geographical shift if it leverages the right policies of lower tariffs, internationally accepted and scientifically based standards, regulatory stability, the free flow of data, and easing restrictions on e-commerce, especially in the pandemic situation. I don't think anybody could afford seeing how much of our commercial activities were going to go online. So, you know, India's reform in these areas are going to greatly enhance free, fair, and reciprocal trade and generate jobs both in India and America. And we appreciate all of those efforts. And then on our side, on the Select USA side, Indian companies, like many around the world, are feeling the effects of the pandemic, and they're kind of holding their expansion plans until the economy rights itself again. But nonetheless, America remains a very attractive destination for Indian companies that are interested in being closer to their markets. And we're still seeing a lot of interest, particularly in pharma and chemical and some of the sectors that are producing goods and services that are working against the spread of COVID. So anyway, I encourage any companies that are on the call who are interested in learning more about investing in America to visit selectusa.gov, where they can get information on market research, cluster maps, and other tools to help businesses make their location decisions. Or of course, you know, contact us in the commercial service or even USIIC, and they'll get you to the right people. So moving from investment to innovation, the government of India had proposed various measures in its budget that emphasize how the new economy should be based on innovation and emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, the Internet of Things, and other dynamic developments needed to compete in the 21st century. And we agree, as long as that is a fair market for all players. And one of the ways to do that is by implementing really strong intellectual property protections. American and Indian firms would be incentivized to collaborate on cutting-edge technologies with the proper protections in place to allow them to do so. And one of the ways that we're helping in this is we've actually recently welcomed a U.S. Patent Trade Officer to India, who is working very closely with federal and state governments all across India to inform on some of the best practices that will help strengthen and enforce IP protections. And we're really happy to have him with us and collaborating with us. And again, you know, contact us if you'd like more information on those programs. And then finally, the last one in our list was infrastructure. It's really a make or break piece of the 2030 strategy. In India's 2020 budget, it was announced that the National Infrastructure Pipeline will focus on roads, energy, logistics, aviation, and agriculture. It's a really great approach, and another area where success often will mean looking globally for the best solutions. And we believe that American firms lead in many of these sectors, and with a transparent tender process and a focus on life cycle costs that ensures that the best vendors and the best overall value will be there to help India implement its ambitious plans. So often when you hear the term infrastructure, you think of big companies that are, doing big projects in this work. But using the tradecraft that I mentioned earlier, our office is working with USIIC to connect second and third tier suppliers who are feeding into those big projects in both countries. We connect them, and they contribute products and services that safely and soundly build infrastructure projects all around India. And I would say that even some Indian companies are also contributing to the infrastructure projects in America. So we're definitely seeing some cross collaboration here. So India proved during the shutdown what an integral part of the world supply chain they play. And with the right combination of deregulations, investment, infrastructure, and innovation, India can attain its goal of becoming the world's third largest economy. And we believe that US goods and services can help them do this. You in this virtual room have a critical role to play in this. You've worked creatively and with determination to invest, build, and maintain strong international businesses in America and around the globe, and especially in India. Your businesses exemplify vision, courage, and success, and it is because of your efforts that our two nations enjoy such a strong bilateral and business relationship. So in partnering with organizations such as USIIC and the US Foreign Commercial Service helps your business make the trading connections. With the recent launch of the US branch, we expect even deeper collaborations, and I encourage you to take advantage of the service and knowledge of both of our organizations. I would like to thank and recognize all of the members of the USIIC for their innovative and continued support and cooperation with the US Consulate to strengthen trade between the United States and India. The US Commercial Service team looks forward to working with you to ensure we continue to connect Indian and US businesses. I thank you, and I wish you great success on the rest of the program. Thanks.
Thank you so much, man. Thanks a lot. We are very grateful to you for sparing your precious time. And it's indeed a great privilege to have you as our chief guest. I would now like to welcome Dr. Rajesh Acharya. Dr. Acharya is the president of USIIC US chapter. He's a patent and trademarks attorney and provides comprehensive as well as strategic advice to both Indian and international clients. He has an extensive background in prosecution and litigation of intellectual property related matters. He's been a speaker at numerous domestic and international seminars, and many of his research papers and articles have been published in various national as well as international research journals and magazines. Now I'd like to request Dr. Acharya to introduce the subject, Two Countries, One Goal. Dr. Acharya, your mic is on mute. So, thank you.
Mrs. Brenda, our chief guest today, Mr. Pillai, Mr. Srinivasan, dignitaries on the web dais and off the web dais, and friends. First of all, I would like to thank Mrs. Brenda for accepting our invitation immediately and for your motivation and support. I'm rather in little bit dilemma how to greet everyone. Good morning, or good noon, or good afternoon, or good evening, because we all are in the different time zone. But anyhow, I wish all of you good time. This is the first event of USIIC US chapter, Two Countries, One Goal. Two countries, US and India, and by strong cooperation, both countries can achieve common goal of mutual growth. We both countries are on opposite portion of the globe, but many things are very, very common in both countries. To understand this, through this e-platform of UIIC, we shall be able to achieve our goal. That is certain like anything. Both countries are cooperating each other in many, many areas like agriculture, business, medicines, different technologies, space, peace, climate change, research, etc., etc., etc. Let us achieve this goal, this common goal of growth. And this is USIIC is a unique platform for it. It is certain. We have galaxy of speakers, rather brilliant thinkers, will express their views on the theme of the webinar. I welcome Brenda again, and Mr. Pillai, and Mr. Srinivasan, and galaxy of speakers, and let us enjoy this time. And I also welcome all of you, all the audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rajesh Acharya. I'd like to express our sincere thanks to you for giving an excellent coverage on today's subject. On the behalf of USIIC US chapter, it's my pleasure to invite our distinguished speakers. I now welcome Dr. Bela Talwar, Chair of USIIC US chapter. Dr. Talwar has 3 master's degrees and a PhD in marketing and finance. Dr. Talwar was asked to present a case for study for export of technology and equipment from USA to India, and was appointed as a partner for First National Bank of New England, working in affiliation with Import-Export Bank of the United States. She promoted some futuristic companies to export-import organizations and took care of exports and essential commodities to African markets. She is the first lady entrepreneur to start a concept of chain stores in Indian market by importing foreign luxury goods and products to India. She has been on the panel of reputed organizations and banks like Industrial Development Bank of India, Chambers of Commerce and Trade, and Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. At present, she is the president of a reputed global IT law firm heading of IT commercialization. With this background and experience of 26 years in global trade, she has been appointed as the chair of USIIC US chapter. I now request Dr. Talwar to give a speech.
Thank you, Mr. Ulal, for a wonderful, kind introduction. I appreciate it. First of all, I would like to thank USIIC for giving this opportunity to me, which I have been probably waiting for, I think, decades that I've been into this work. I always wanted to really interact with the small and medium segment industry, as Brenda very rightly mentioned, that they are the future when it comes to employment opportunities and stuff. I want to thank this for this opportunity, because USIIC has given me that platform that I'm I was always passionate about working, and I look forward to really do the best. Pretty excited about it. With this, let me start my presentation. When we talk about 2 countries, one goal, we are talking about economic collaboration for mutual growth. It has been seen that the mutual growth when it comes to United States and India, the emergence of common goals that we have seen in last 20 years, over 20 years, US and India has been very progressive in the trend of making the relation stronger for mutual benefits in every aspect of it. The reason that is a very important aspect of US-India is that they're very complementary economies. They both, the system is such that they both complement each other, and that is a very strong base for us to get together as strong allies. So where are the partnerships that US-India supports as a leading global power on most of the international forums is the reason why US-India have become very strategically strong partners. A great example of that is seen in 2+2 ministerial dialogue, made India and US as the major defense partners. This is a very strong strengthening relationship with both countries and it is going further stronger that there is going to be next week new additions to this forum. US Pacific Command, which is now Indo-Pacific Command, realizing the strategic role for India's peace and stability. When it comes to bilateral trade discussion in the field of space, health, cooperation, energy, and high technology trade, India, US are again moving forward in joining hands. Counterterrorism has been a very important area for US-India to jointly work together. They have been very much on the same page always when it comes to protection. Strategic energy partnership, civil space, cybersecurity are another very important areas of mutual understanding. Quad maritime security partnership is another area. India has welcomed US when it comes to UN Security Council, which is a very important position India has got, and US has been very supportive of it. Yes, when it comes to two countries not only doing work together, but there's been very strong friendship that has been created between India and US. And the best example is post-pandemic in earlier months when India was locked down and US was going through the first phase. India, as a great friend, stood beside when it comes to HCQs or mask or ventilator or other supporting issues. So that shows that it is not only business or other areas. US-India are strong, compatible friends to go hand in hand and thick and thin. Let's a little talk about economic relations. 2019 US bilateral trade of goods and services have reached all-time high $249 billion. This is due to economic cooperation. People-to-people ties is a very strong fundamental for two countries growing at a rapid pace. We talk about G20, Asia, Association of South Asian Nations, IMF, World Bank, WTO are other organizations which are very supportive of each other. There is something that I would like to mention here, that Indian students in 2019 have contributed $8 billion to the US economy. And their passion to study in the United States has always been there, which is a very strong factor. When we talk about large democracies of the world, US, India, over and above, when we talk, English is a common language, transparent economic policy, cultural freedom, human rights, there is very important aspect which, even to my experience of these almost three decades that I have been closely associated, is what US democracy has a very strong component is the power of speech, the power to bring human capital to perform at its best. And I think that is a very strong democratic power that US gives to its people. And so is India doing in the similar lines. A democratic freedom of expression is a strong base of human capital to perform with the best of their potential and the like-minded mindset. This positive environment gives birth to the new inventions, startups that are happening so frequent, and they are growing at a very rapid pace. Positive environment in US is why so many successful Indians are enjoying working with the best of their potential in the United States. And it's a reason why Americans love to visit India. So it is a very mutual and common interest which has been seen. Another aspect of overlapping of cultural integration when it comes to democracies is the similarity of value systems and lifestyles. US-India is getting very strong when it comes to yoga, Ayurveda, herbal foods. The turmeric, of course, has post-pandemic has got a very important immunization product that even Americans are loving to use it. Bollywood, and let's not forget the Indian curry, which of course we and my friends love it. On the other side, Indian students have adapted Western lifestyle when they go back to India, thereby opening a very major Western market for Western products in India, which is a virgin market open for imports in India too, for future to come. This democratic commonality and the mindset is the base for consumer, capital, manufacturing collaborations between the two countries. Let's have a glimpse on India today. India is the 5th largest economy. Yes, it soon will be 3rd. We're looking forward to make it to be 3rd. The GDP 2.9 trillion, which is already overtaken United Kingdom and France. As per Economic Times, Digital India plans to boost up the GDP by $1 trillion by 2025. India is already the pharmacy of the world. Post-pandemic will play a very important role in healthcare. India has already proved its position when it comes to IT. It's a very strong saying that hardware industry will not be able to prove or to do anything unless the Indian IT is a party to it. That's where from IT to AI, India is moving very strong. India is also a youngest country of the world with 17% of the world's population. 65% of 1.3 billion. We're talking, which is going to be less than 35, strong, growing, brilliant population, which is going to create a substantial meaning in collaboration in the world. When we talk about India, it's 10% of world's gold reserves are with India. Well, I would like to say that Indian housewives play a very important role in that portion, but that is where is 10% of the world's gold reserve is a substantial amount. Foreign direct investments in India grew from 13%, which is a record of 49.97 billion in 2019-2020. So that itself shows that there is a very strong future market which India is there, and foreign investors are very happy and keen to be participating there. Indian segment of 1.3 billion domestic market with the large middle class segment. It is observed that just the middle class segment of India is a larger population than the population of United States. So that kind of segment is a huge segment which is available when it comes to the trade relations. One area where US-India again thinks alike is woman entrepreneur. Importance, understanding that women will be generating 150 to 170 million jobs by 2030. Post-pandemic, a stimulus is given to 200 million women directly by Indian government. It's a very strong move which Indian government has made, realizing that helping women is not only helping women, but it's also helping the household and the next generation. So keeping that in mind, helping women and women entrepreneur, India and US both are very seriously working towards it. And it's a very strong component that they are thinking alike. Important common goal. When it comes to common goals, there are very many common goals that I just mentioned that we, US and India are sharing together. There's one very important common goal, especially post-pandemic, and that is employment opportunity, job opportunities, which is very important area of concentration. Whenever we talk about stimulus given to small and mid-segment industry, stimulus, if it is used for consumption purpose and there is not substantial return on investments or the market hub or future growth for SMEs, that stimulus will not be able to do justice and it will be used as consumption. So wherein if stimulus is used in the interim period, there is a market and the demand oriented areas of concentration, there has to be more interaction where this stimulus can be used and then more and more exposure will be created, and then that can generate employment opportunities, because SMEs are very important component to generate employment opportunities. There is a strong goal for women entrepreneurs when it comes to this kind of employment opportunities, wherein we belong to global village. Post-pandemic, there is some opportunity that has come up Webinars and education through e-commerce was never been so predominant that has been happening post-pandemic. The reason is it is a very cost-effective method of communication which can go to the grassroots levels from one country to another, where ever to the household level or SMEs at a very basic level, they can get to learn new opportunities. They can understand and be educated. There is so much is available and that they can capitalize on it. Let's briefly talk about USIIC US chapter, the inception. While realizing by US and India that bilateral trade needs to go to next level, was when US President visited India this February 2020. And that is where this chapter was inaugurated, which Brenda rightly mentioned. India has a very strong capacity to absorb US technologies. This is where India has already reached. And once these technologies are going to be absorbed in India, they can jointly create global markets, which is the opportunity waiting between US and India while joining hands together, filling the gap of supply chain that is created by another country through economies of scale. Logistics and cost benefit analysis will be the area where they can join hands and work on these new opportunities and see what market segment that can be captured for new future to come. It's very interesting to know that USIIC is the only importers council in the world where we know that Indian foreign exchange reserves are to the tune of $545 billion. And Indian investors have the potential to invest in American technology. This is a time to give them that leverage to ensure them that the technocrats and the market heads of both the countries post-pandemic sit together on a common platform to understand and use the decentralization of responsibilities, because they both are very well equipped with their own knowledge when it comes to technocrats. It is seen during various case studies that buying a technology outright vis-a-vis both the technocrat being party to the industry for a long period of time turns to be a better proposition. The reason being simple, that every technology, the technocrat understands how to incorporate new innovative techniques depending on the feedback that is coming from the market, because technocrat or inventor understands this very, very well. So incorporating as a joint venture where market heads and technocrats sit together for the decentralization where they belong and they have the best of knowledge in their respective areas would turn out to be a better method of operation, which is truly a globalization that should work on reaching to this grassroots level, wherein every household, every small segment should get this knowledge, and more interactive sessions should be created. We know India also has its own hub of 1.3 billion, but over and above, India is geographically located in an area where the entire population is around. That has a very strong, significant geographical location that can look forward for re-export, import substitution, and other markets that can be captured. The important goal that India, US, we always feel the technocrats and American technology has been talking about the apprehension when it comes to intellectual property rights. India is working very aggressively in transparency when it comes to reforms, conducive to the business environment for confidentiality and protection in fields such as science and technology, manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, entertainment. Fast track systems have been taken care so that commercial courts are in a position to handle their cases without any delay. Digitalization in these offices has been for prosecution a very important part which has been implemented. Everything is on the screen, pretty transparent, that even they can understand each other through screen with an English common language. It becomes very easy without translation to operate. Supreme Court decision in litigation is a very impressive step towards bringing understanding how IP is becoming a very integral part, where they have passed the decision saying that every case, every litigation in IP should be finished within the year. This is something which is happening only in India. We understand India is a very strong when it comes to digital technology, innovative business opportunities with 700 million users are in internet. This is going to simplify globalization when it comes to SMEs. When it comes to financial simplicity, transportation, earlier there used to be interactive time duration when it comes to postal services, so on and so forth. Today, look at the global village where it is Amazon.com with Amazon.in. How close the whole world has become thanks to these MNCs. Finally, fulfilling the common goal, and the conclusion would be the future and growth of SMEs is very well understood and implemented by inventor himself. Therefore, one-to-one, case-to-case basis, if inventor and market heads sit together, USIIC is a very strong catalyst in creating the bridging the gap between implementation of these programs with the government support of United States and India together. That will be in a position to handle. Both the countries are very strong as part of Global Village. Common platform is required to create the best fit model to satisfy this common goal, whether we say America first or we say make in India. It is a common goal that we need to achieve together. With this, I would like to thank you all for participating and giving your time. Look forward for more such interactions. Stay safe and stay blessed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Talwar. That was extremely informative and very, very enlightening. Now we'll move forward to the panel discussion. It's my honor to welcome Dr. Dinesh Dave, Mrs. Laura Brewer, Dr. Ajay Agarwal, and Dr. Varinder Sharma to the panel discussion on Two Countries, One Goal. Dr. Dinesh Dave is currently serving as the Director and Professor of Supply Chain Management, the Department of Management and Supply Chain Management in the John A. Walker College of Business at Appalachian State University, United States of America. He also served as the head of the Department of Computer Information Systems and Supply Chain Management, as the Director of Center for Business Research, and held the Beeroth Oil Four Brothers Professorship. He holds a PhD and 2 master's degrees. He also is certified in Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt. Dr. Dave's articles have been published in various international journals of great repute. We welcome you, Dr. Dave. The next distinguished speaker on the panel discussion is Mrs. Laura Brewer. She is a lecturer at the Department of Marketing and Supply Chain Management in John A. Walker College of Business at the Appalachian State University, Boone, North Carolina, USA. Mrs. Brewer takes courses on production and operation management and strategy and procurement global sourcing. Mrs. Brewer is an Appalachian alumni and holds a master's degree in business administration with concentration in data analytics, as well as Bachelor of Science, Business Administration, majoring in computer information systems and minored in supply chain management. She received her graduate certificate in supply chain management from University of North Carolina, Greensboro. Mrs. Brewer is pursuing her Doctor of Business Administration degree from University of North Carolina at Charlotte. The next distinguished speaker on the panel discussion is Dr. Ajay Agarwal. He is currently serving as the Professor of Management in the Mooney School of Business at Henderson State University, USA. He has earned his B.Tech in Chemical Engineering from IIT Delhi, followed by 3 graduate degrees from Virginia Tech, Masters in Chemical Engineering, MBA with Finance concentration, and PhD in Management Science. His teaching areas have been business statistics, management information systems, operations management, principles of artificial intelligence, introduction to liberal studies, e-commerce, strategic information systems, and strategic management. Dr. Agarwal's articles have been published in several international journals of great repute. He has presented various research papers at regional and national conferences. He's also completed several funded research projects. The next distinguished speaker I have from the panel discussion is Dr. Varinder M. Sharma. He's a professor of Department of Marketing in Eberly College of Business and Information Technology at the Indiana University of Pennsylvania, USA. He holds a PhD in marketing and 3 master's degrees, MBA, MTech, solid state materials, and MSc space physics. His research interests include supply chain management, consumer and industrial buyer behavior, relationship marketing, global marketing, export marketing, relationship marketing, and e-commerce. His research work has been published in several ranking journals. I would now request our distinguished speakers to commence with the panel discussion.
Thank you so much, and we truly appreciate USIIC's support and given us the opportunity to provide some insight on a very interesting topic, 2 countries, 1 goal. And we are very excited about giving our best shot. We have we are very keen to give some of the information which already given by Mrs. Brenda and also other speaker. However, there is some information that we would like to share. So our agenda would be to talk about first the reasons for 2 countries, 1 goal. Another is how US India could be perfect partner, and Dr. Talwar already touched a little bit on it, as well as Mrs. Van Horn talked about it as well. But we are going to go a little in detail. The reasons for perfect partnership and how India can be a major player to the US. And the other side of the coin is how US can be a major player to India. So we'll have both ways. And then we'll talk about US-India Business Alliance and what could be the next steps. And we'll discuss some great opportunities for the next step. So we are going to ask Mrs. Brewer to combine and discuss some of the topics.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Dave. So, you know, when we talk about this with India and US, you know, why these 2 countries? Why this 1 goal? So, you know, we need to really think about the main sourcing countries' lack of concern for businesses. When we say that, it's unfortunate that sometimes they have so much that they just don't really think about these smaller businesses and how the COVID has affected everybody and how that we can pull together and help these smaller and medium-sized businesses. It's a really large concern. You know, Southeast Asia in general has been the primary sourcing country for the world's supplying low-cost manufactured products. That has been true. But let's think about something for a minute. When I say that, I think it's very important that we also not only talk about COVID and how this is affecting everything, but also think about how the tariffs have affected everything as well. So now it's to a point to where not only do you have, you know, the COVID affecting everybody, but you also have the tariffs too that were in play before the COVID happened. And unfortunately that makes, you know, people in America want to look somewhere else because not only do they, you know, not want to pay tariffs, but we're now trying to look for other places to get our low-cost products. And unfortunately, you know, the countries where we were getting them before isn't so much the case anymore. And obviously, you know, the spread of COVID-19 has resulted in badly bruised economies, employee layoffs, and schools and business closures. And that's absolutely true here. And I know it's been true there as well. So we really have to think about that aspect and how are we going to fix the economy? How are we going to fix the employee layoffs and the schools and the business closures? How are we going to fix all that? The best way is to find a country that we can partner with and make this better. And whenever I think about India, I think about a lot of what Dr. Van Horn said in that, you know, and I agree with this, and I had to write this down because it was really important when I heard it. You know, the government investing in America, and also investing in that innovation, and also investing in that infrastructure so that we can be the perfect partner. I think that's a huge goal. And lastly, you know, organizations have started evaluating their global sourcing decisions. They were doing that before, just as I talked about earlier. So right now is just the perfect time for India to step up and be that third largest one in America, right? Or in the country, right? In the world. So when we think about that, you know, just as I worked in the industry for a really long time, over 20 years, and I was actually employed during the tariff situation. And what that did was it really made everybody say, well, you know, I don't want to get those products from a place where we're going to have all these huge tariffs anymore. It's not cost efficient for us. And then, you know, the COVID happening, that just made it worse. So I think that America and India have the perfect time right now to seize on this opportunity. Dr. Dave, if you'll please go to the next slide. Yeah. Thank you. So when we talk about two countries and one goal, I want to read this sentence. This has a lot of words in it, but it's so important. So to achieve a sustainable, accelerated growth of mutually beneficial international trade between USA and India. That is absolutely the most important sentence of this entire webinar. How do we do that? I mean, this is our goal. This is what we want to do. And I know this is what India also wants to do. So it's important that we talk about these issues now and get them on the table and figure out how we can do this. And why is it so important? Well, let's think about this. To fill a void of manufactured products created by business and consumer distrust for products and services from the existing main sourcing origin. I don't know about anybody else, but I know for the Americans on the panel here today, it's very frustrating when you go to the store and you don't have toilet paper, you don't have Clorox wipes, you don't have all these things that are a luxury that we normally have. And then all of a sudden, they're not there anymore. What are we going to do with that? Because, you know, I'll speak as an American. You know, we're spoiled. We're used to going to, you know, our local Walmart and our products being there. And when they're not, we get upset. So we have to fill that void. And how are we going to do that? How can we do that? Because it's so important that we work on this now. So features of this common goal, obviously, is to identify alternative sourcing countries, and suggest ideas for developing new and growing existing import and export businesses based on macro level trends. You know, Dr. Dave and I and the other panelists had a conversation the other day. So I think one of the major features, and I love how Dr. Talwar said that, you know, India has the biggest population of people under 35 years old. Well, we need We need those fresh minds. We need those people. And, I'll say this, women included, because I know she said this as well. But we need those people to start innovating, to start, trying to take the place of where we're getting our goods before. Because now the trust is gone, and we need that innovation. And I think that, Dr. Talwar said it perfectly, because I was absolutely, we were talking about such young, fresh minds. And, when you have a young, fresh mind, they're very, very trainable. They're very, very, innovative, and they want to think about all these great new things. And I mean, right now is a perfect opportunity.
Okay.
And I'm going to hand it over to Dr. AJ.
Thank you, Mrs. Brewer. So now I will invite Dr. Sharma to talk about some of the issues. Dr. Sharma, you are on.
Hi. Good afternoon on the US side to all the participants, and good morning to all the participants on the Indian side. I know it's quite early in the morning, and you may be living on coffee right now or tea to stay awake. I won't take much of your time, but thanks for being here. Two things I'll go discuss, and the first one is US and India as perfect partners. Well, there are a lot of commonalities, and the onset of COVID-19 has brought these things out. First of all, both countries have suffered severely from the current supply chain disruptions. I think this was also mentioned by Brenda. And we also know that the four major economies, things as they are moving on, US, Japan, India, and Australia, they have formed a quad. This is a very recent innovation in order to offer an alternative to the rest of the world against these disruptions. As you know, that the supply chain disruptions are becoming a lot more common now because the supply chains are becoming more and more global. And this quad is offering a more trustworthy and reliable supply chain alternative. The quad suggests that reliance on a specific geographic location or country as a sole supplier is untenable. I think we don't have to put all our eggs in one basket. We learned the hard way that, okay, per unit cheap cost is okay, but what you end up paying later in the long run is probably a lot more costly than you can even imagine. So on the surface, per unit low cost seems to be attractive, but behind that are hidden costs that I think we are slowly beginning to realize. So it's better to look at the total cost of operations rather than just the unit cost. Additional countries. It's not only India. We would like that US and India as a partners, they should also include other countries which are probably closer by to both the countries, which are near shore and offshore, and they have export capabilities. They can play supporting roles in this partnership between US and India. Can you move to the next slide, please? So I'm giving you some reasons here for this perfect partnership. As you know, India is one of the largest 5 economies, and sooner it's going to become number 4 or number 3. It's inching up pretty close to that. And there are a couple of reasons. Number one, there are values similarity. Americans and Indian values are pretty much similar. Okay. The values of doing business, values of human values, they're all very similar. Open societies, democracies, and Dr. Talwar has talked about them. Similarity in business cultures and practices. These are also quite similar, very much similar. We also have a history of growing trade and strategic relationships, and I think this has been nicely pointed out by Brenda as well as Talwar, Bella Talwar. Both countries are democracies, as you know, and we respect the diversity of human beings, and we respect that. Both countries have people-to-people relationship, as you know it. I think this doesn't have to be said too much about it. Indian-American partnerships at people-to-people level are very strong. I've been living in this country for the last 34, 35 years with my students, with my colleagues, with the business in general. We never know that we are in a foreign country. We are in our home country. So this seems to be our second home. Both countries are politically friendly, and both countries are benevolent to the rest of the world. I think we don't mention it normally. We are benevolent. I mean, US almost supports to alleviate the miseries and sufferings throughout the world. India does the same thing. Very recently, as you know, nobody knew how to treat COVID-19 afflicted people. India said, okay, we have hydroxychloroquine and let's try it. They supplied to 133 countries, including the United States. So at least there is some solution rather than having no solution. Of course, there are so many deaths that have occurred throughout the world, but as we are becoming more and more aware of COVID-19, you can see that both the therapeutics as well as vaccinations are on the horizon. Please move to the next slide. Now, the last 2 points I would like to mention, both countries already have and are continuously increasing some common strategic interest. I think 2 days from now, probably we are going to see a 2+2 meeting between the two ministers of India and Mike Pompeo and Mark Esper are going to India to have this one. Now, the last point is probably repetition, but let me substitute it. And I would like to say the absorptive capacities of Indians and US are pretty much similar. What is absorptive capacities we discussed in the literature is that people of both countries have risen to the level they can absorb each other's latest state-of-the-art technologies, and that can lead to innovations. So I will give it back to Dr. Dave.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Sharma. I would like to invite Dr. Agarwal. Dr. Agarwal, you are on, sir.
Okie dokie. Okay, folks, let me begin by thanking folks that have already presented before me, because Brenda Van Horn, super awesome, all the excellent points you made about US-India partnership and highlighting all of the various elements that exist in common between the countries. Also would like to thank Dr. Bela Talwar for her super fantastic PowerPoint slide, and by golly, she really laid it out point by point and really emphasized everything so significantly. I just want to say ditto and hand it back almost because she did a fantastic job on everything. But let me just touch on a couple of points, just my 2 cents in this thing. I just wanted to talk briefly about how India can be a major player in this trading relationship. And, when you talk about being a major player, it means, do you really have the ingredients to matter in this relationship, to really make a significant difference? And I earnestly hope to make in the short time that I have, to make a quick case that, hey, you know what? I submit to you that the answer to that is yes. India does have the major ingredients, and therefore we really ought to take a hard look at this and figure out a way to make this relationship really progress and take it to the next level. Laura talked about, accelerated development, and this is what this is really all about. So why can and how can India be a major player? Well, India has well-developed capabilities to source several products and service United States needs. And I'll touch on some of those. Apparently, the point gets repeated in number 3. India offers the largest market of middle-class consumers for US products. You're talking about, I was just Googling recently, and it said 121 million households, which is about 300 million people plus. And that's an awesome market because, these people will need your latest cell phones, they'll need the latest refrigerators, microwaves, washing machines, that is just a scratching tip of the iceberg, but everything that you will find in a middle-class household. So there'll be a big need for US-made products. And as Dr. Talwar mentioned, when Indians go back from the US after getting educated, oftentimes, they take a lot of Western values with them, and by golly, they are ready to embrace, products from the US in a big way, India has well-developed capabilities to supply several products. And once again, I just want to rattle off a few things that really stand out to give you just a heads up on the kinds of things India can do. For instance, some current exports from India includes things like diamonds, aluminum, raw sugar, rice, jewelry, medicines, some cars, leather footwear, and that should give you just a smatter of the kinds of things we have the ability to meet worldwide. Now, currently, India is one of the largest suppliers of therapeutics and vaccinations and software to the US. In fact, most of the medicines, actually not most, but a lot of them that are sold in the US, most of the tablets are actually, compacted and put together in India in different parts. And that is to show you that India is a player. We have the abilities. Now, to make a case for India, I said, hey, let's compare ourselves with the big giant that is responsible for 75 to 85% of the world's sourcing, and that's China. And looking at some numbers from China, just to rattle off a few major exports from China to the US, electrical machinery, 152 billion, general machinery, 117 billion, furniture and bedding, toys, sports and equipment, and plastics. The reason I mentioned these headlines, these listing items, is because India has the ability to do all of these and more. Why? Can you go to the next slide, Dr. Dave, please? India offers an educated young population that can be trained in a short time to produce sophisticated and complex products. And to give you, a key ingredient in that discussion, India produces 5 times as many engineers as the US does on a yearly basis. And a lot of these people, have seems like they are being increasingly directed towards the areas of coding because IT sector has really taken off in India in a big way. But, there is more to engineers than doing coding. They can make machine products and we can really train them to set up that can essentially literally, triple India's exports to the US in a matter of a few short years by just, using the concepts that we are all well trained in. And these guys have the raw material, they have the brain power to adapt. And we just need to work together hand in hand and get India ready. Also, it says there's a larger Indian diaspora in the U.S., and I was looking at the stats again using Google for help, and apparently, Indians have been growing at the rate of about 70% a year in the U.S. We have about 3.5 million plus people currently, and we continue to grow, and a lot of Indians that are doing business in the U.S. Nothing against the kind of things they're doing, but you'll find a lot of grocery store owners, a lot of gas station owners, a lot of motel owners. We need to think big. We need to think beyond getting comfortable. I think a lot of Indians in the United States have almost, gone to the lowest common denominator and said, what can I do to just, make a few extra dollars without too much discomfort, if you will. And they've taken the easy way out. And, grocery store is an easy way out because it doesn't really cause you to use too much, brain power, so to speak. But I submit to you that these individuals that are running businesses across the United States can really be seedlings for both import and export issues. They can, import stuff from India and export stuff to India, and they can form important seedlings that can be cultivated in this relationship as we strive to grow it. So with that, that's my 2 cents, and let me hand it back to Dr. Dave.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Agarwal. So how India can be a major, how US can be a major player to India. So the other side of the coin, India offers the largest market, as we all know that, it's the 300 million people, that's the market approximately we are looking at, which is the population, so bigger population. So that's an option. The purchase power is enhancing. So that's an opportunity. India offers low cost, high tech manufacturing service locations, as we know that, but also there are great opportunity that here we can create. And one of them is like, we talk about 2 important words here called supply chain, and we can create a sustainable, robust, trustworthy, dependable supply chain. That what we need to do is we can have the right material, the right place at the right time with the right condition and with the right quality. So, so that's another issue that I wanted to interject here. US can become a larger exporter to India for a large variety of products, energy supply, high tech. Now we have capability of, IoT. So IoT is going to come up in India also pretty extensively. Like here we are looking at, electric cars like Tesla and all that. So there's so many possibilities that US can play important role. US-India exchange rate are relatively stable, and you can see that India has never ever manipulated the currency rate, etc. So you can see that it's very trustworthy relation. So it's a possibility, as a previous panelist suggested, we have a foreign reserve. Dr. Talwar suggested that, and there is no restriction on repatriation of money. So there are great options that we have. What I'm trying to say here is it's a great, in US-India is a great business alliance. As we know that we can create more trustworthy, reliable, and long-term relation, B2B relation, business-to-business relation. And India offers one of the largest market to US products. So as we discussed earlier, both countries have natural convergence of goals to become mutual beneficial to each other's suppliers. And that is what I want to discuss a little bit, that as we say that the supply chain has been disrupted lately, and we have not even looked at very closely. So this is the time for us to move forward and foster this relation of how can we make it more sustainable, robust, and responsive supply chains, especially building the relationship. And so many examples are, we can assemble certain products, send it off, or we can send the parts to India and assemble there and sell it there, or we can assemble the product there and send it here. So all this kind of permutation combination can be thought of in order to come up with a stronger supply chain. But here, the opportunity is there. And what we want to do is, where do we go next from here? How do we create these options and make it a very flourish and very profitable, as well as the fun relationship in a long term that's sustainable? And when we talk about sustainable, we want to talk about economically sustainable, we want to talk about environmental sustainable, and we want to talk about technical sustainability. So here we need to look at the long-term relationship, and these are the next steps that I would invite Dr. Sharma, and then I will interject after he speaks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dave. Now, after having said all what we wanted to say, the question is of implementation. Otherwise, plans just remain plans. So we are here offering some suggestions to USIIC, both in the US and in India, as well as to the US Council in India. Some of the points that came to our mind, this is not an exhaustive list, but it does offer certain food for thought. Number one, it will be much better if we can create a three-way partnership that involves the political leaders of India and US, concerned political leaders. I'm not talking about any riffraff, but those who are related to the bilateral relationship between the two, the industrial professionals, very important, and of course the academics, so that we build a common platform for removing the bottlenecks in this process of increasing the supply chain strength, robustness, and the responsive supply chain, because both are trustworthy partners. All we have to do is to build a bridge between the two. Once the bridge is built, I think these people will start maintaining the bridge by themselves. Point number two, educate potential Indian exporters. As let's not forget that Indian exporters are still having at a lower level of competence as compared to the US exporters. Okay, I mean, that is given. So definitely there is some need to pick up the young, the emerging, small and medium scale companies that are being run by highly educated people who can absorb the latest information, to educate them to come to a certain level to up their game. I mean, it takes people at the same level to have conversation. So they have to raise their standard, and then they can easily fit with the American demands, American requirements. And likewise, Americans will have to come to the level where they understand the Indian culture and start dealing with them at a mutually beneficial level. Okay, so we have to cut through the clutter of superiority or inferiority, but we have to come down to a place where we can share and then start moving it up. Facilitate fulfillment of several US import needs. As you know, and as Mrs. Brewer pointed out correctly, even now, this is the month of October, it's ending. I went to Walmart and I wanted to pick up 2 packets of toilet paper, and I was stopped at the checkout counter, sir, only 1. And very politely, but I left 1 and I brought 1. That's a way to share that there is some kind of informal rationing going on because we still do not have the supply chain ability to fulfill the demand. Arrange multiple practitioner oriented. Here I'm saying, bring on the businesses, okay? Actual businesses. I'm not talking about large businesses. I'm talking about the small, medium, who have the potential to grow. Excuse me. Common to the connected Indian exporters and US importers in India as well as US, so that the thoughts can be shared simultaneously with both of them. We know there is a 9.5 hour time difference, and after November 1, it will become 10.5 hours. Right? But if we have the spirit, if we have the willpower, we can bridge that gap. Build committees of relevant US and Indian importers. We got to build multiple committees. They can be built industry specific to navigate through bottlenecks. That's very important, especially in the beginning, you know. And finally, monitor the growth of India-US trade. Very, very important. You have to keep your eye on the ball. You can't leave it to the environment itself. So once you monitor it and see that it is catching up the speed, it's catching the wind, I think at that time, the system will take over itself. So I'll stop it there and give it back to Dr. Dav.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. These are the very important issues that we touch here. Is we need to give continuous training to the possible entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs in India, because we can have them some knowledge of how the lean Six Sigma works, how the VOC, voice of customers, and those kind of issues will take place. How do we translate the customer needs into technical part and understand the issues? We need to also give training to our entrepreneurs that how to segment the market, how to use the analytics and use that analytics approach to get into market. And Southeast Asia in general and China in particular has done absolutely fantastic job around the world to perform the analytics and figure out where is the market segment. Okay, during one festival like Festival of Lights or Diwali time, okay, there are some things they need, fireworks or firecrackers, etc. They got into the market. So what I'm trying to say is there are some ways that we can do market research. Another issue that we need to think about is for both US as well as the Indian business entrepreneurs is let them give the information and knowledge on a continuous basis about TOC, total cost of ownership. It's not only the cheap labor that we are going to go after, but labor cost in addition to the logistics cost plus the Dr. Sharma and Dr. Agarwal touch base on it a little bit, that we need to figure out. It could be a very expensive proposition if the defective item has been, assembled into an electronic product, and those are the issues. The cost could be astronomical. So we need to have them understand the different part of those costs, and also each activity has cost. So we need to give them training on activity-based costing. So if here the training, certain type of awareness, opportunities that will take us to the place that we really want to go, and we want to accomplish the goal. So we all are all our panelists, we are very, very excited about this opportunity. We are thrilled to be part of this outstanding organization, and I truly appreciate giving us an opportunity to be part of this webinar. And we'll be more than happy to take question if there are any question or anything that you all have the next segment.
Thank you so much, sir. We do not have any questions at the moment, but I'm sure if there are any, they'll turn up. Thank you so much for the panel discussion, everyone. I would like to, of course, thank Dr. Dinesh Dave, this is Laura Brewer, Dr. Ajay Agarwal, and Dr. Varinder Sharma for having graced this event and enriching the participants with their extensive knowledge and experience. Now, I would take great pleasure in welcoming Mr. Virender Goswami, one of the most senior and well-respected immigration practitioners in the United States, with a track record that spans over 4 decades. He has always been and remains a pioneer of immigration solutions for clients all over the world. I request Mr. Virender Goswami to deliver his speech.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, I want to thank all the participants and speakers. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. And I learned a lot, I'll tell you that much. So you have definitely created value, I can say that, for me at least. So thank you so much for letting me be a participant of this very, very learned group. So let me, when Dr. Acharya asked me to speak in this panel, and the United States and India Import Council, I said, I'm an immigration attorney. The first thing that strikes your mind is you're talking about commodities, you're talking about exchange of things, trade, this and that. And that's what you're thinking. And then I said, wait a minute. I'm in the business of importing one of the greatest resources, humans, and the great contribution that immigrants make to the United States, especially from India. So what I like to do is I want to talk a little bit about value of immigrants, totally, and value in terms of dollar amounts, the contributions, and share the contribution of Indian immigrants, and also share a few things that have occurred in the recent administration. I'm not a politician. I'm not pro-Trump. I'm not pro-Biden, all that stuff. I'm going to state facts. I'm a lawyer, and I state facts. And I speak on the basis of facts. So let me get started. My firm, the first slide is Goswami and Associates, value of immigrants. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, we're immigration attorneys. I've already said that. I've been doing this for 38 years. Basically, we do all kinds of immigration work. We're a full service firm. We do investment visas, employment-based visas. And now I'm deeply involved in federal court litigation because I'm fed up of, filing cases, and then there are delays or sometimes denials. The standard of proof is not being properly administered. So therefore, we go to federal district court and we sue the government, and we get our solutions there. So, and that's unfortunately due to the current attitudes that exist, especially using the slogan, Buy American and Hire American, which is used in a very, very interesting way as far as immigration policy under the current administration is concerned. Our combined experience in our firm is around 98 years. Let's move to the next slide. Let's move to the next one. I've already explained all that about myself. Next, please. All right. Immigrants' impact on the US economy. Well, in 2018, immigrant-led households contributed $458 billion in taxes. That's almost $500 billion. Of these undocumented immigrants who are supposed to be, quote, a burden to the society, they contributed approximately 40 billion. Then if you look at the DACA, these kids who were brought along with their illegal immigrant family members, they contributed approximately 1.7 billion. And residents of immigrant-led households after tax had a $1.2 trillion purchasing power. And 3.6 million immigrant business owners accounted for 21% of all self-employed US residents in 2018, and they generated approximately 83.3 billion in business income. I want to make a comment about this. I want to talk about the spirit of immigrants. The spirits of immigrants And I personally define it as value creation, inspired pioneers leaving their homes, coming to this country, creating value. Of course, we have the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics majors coming here, contributing to corporations and things of that nature. But even those who are uneducated, who have come into my office, when I got them their permanent residency or status in the United States, they've gone ahead and opened small businesses, the grocery stores, the gas stations, the trucking businesses. They become extremely wealthy. They pay taxes. Their kids go to Harvard. So these people are first generation. They come, they work, they butt off, and they contribute to the American system and society. The beauty of America is dignity of labor. I love that about the United States. And an opportunity is given to immigrants here, and then the immigrants give their best, their highest potential to the society, and they create great value in the society. I've seen it in my own eyes, 38 years, and I'm just amazed at what they're able to create and what the opportunity the United States gives and what they bring to the US, and they enhance the value of the US as well. So I'm just totally amazed by that. Next slide, please. Let's look at STEM workers in higher degrees. On the right-hand column, in 2015, 19.2% of STEM workers were holding bachelor degrees were foreign born. 40.7% of STEM workers holding master's degrees were foreign born. And 54.5% of STEM workers holding PhDs were foreign born. It seems that foreign students who come to the United States then enter into the workforce of the US. They're contributing a lot. 40.7 STEM workers holding master's degree were foreign born. 54.5% of STEM workers were holding a PhD were foreign born. Of these, large numbers are Indians. So what they're doing is they go to the workforce, they give you quality. It's not only quantity of people doing code work alone. It's just a beautiful synergy. I remember way back in the 90s, we had the Y2K. There weren't enough engineers in the US. They weren't. Less than 1% of the graduating high school class would go into engineering school here. India came in, helped America solve the Y2K problem. And these so-called coders eventually started their own companies. Many of my clients started their own companies. Now they have their own companies. They hire people. And they're entrepreneurs. So they're not merely coders. Every immigrant that I've seen come through my office is fundamentally an entrepreneur. You know, they have their entrepreneurial spirit. Now, I know there are many who go into teaching and things of that nature, but they're also impacting the society in a very, very big and enormous way. I mean, I have seen people come here just work and create value in the society. I'm very proud of the Indian heritage, what Indian immigrants have been able to create here. Next slide, please. CEOs in the United States. 25% of high-tech companies founded between 1995 and 2005 had at least one immigrant founder. 40% of companies in Fortune 500 in 2010 were founded by an immigrant or the child of an immigrant. Today, 55% of America's billion-dollar startups have an immigrant founder. 10 of those companies have CEOs that were born in India. Some companies, an example of some companies with Indian immigrant CEOs, Microsoft, Alphabet, or Google, Adobe, IBM, Palo Alto Networks, Harman. So Indian immigrants came here, educated, now they're CEOs. Become Microsoft, Alphabet, Google, you know, all these, IBM. These are just a few examples. Now, the bulk of the recent immigration, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, of course, we got a lot of doctors, we got a lot of professors, dentists, grocery store owners, 7-Elevens, hotel, motel, even these hotel, motel immigrants. They started with maybe hotels, motels in the slums of the cities. But now they're buying big hotels, Holiday Inn Express, Marriott's. So they've now moved forward. They've not moved backwards. Substantial number of those have moved forward, not backwards. So the impact of software development, for instance, large check of them are Indian immigrants. Next slide, please. In 2016, it contributed 1.14 trillion of the US GDP. All 50 states of the US were positively impacted. Software industry direct economic impact grew by 18.7% from 2016 to 2017. 13.4 million jobs fall under this software industry. 6.5% growth in the software industry job market from 2016 to 2017. Next, please. STEM workers. I'm going to go to item 3. Item 1. In 1990, 11.9% of the STEM workforce in the US were foreign born. By 2015, that increased to 2 million. That's 24.3% of the STEM workforce. Now, as far as Indian immigrants pursuing a STEM degree, there were 154,000 Indian immigrants in 2017 to 2018 pursuing a STEM degree. Next, please. Now, companies founded by Indian immigrants in Silicon Valley. And look at this, Instacart, 17.7 billion market value, 142,000 employees. Bloom Energy, Robinhood, Zenefit, Sprinkler, Rubrik, Actifio, Sun Microsystems, these are all billion-dollar companies having hundreds of thousands of employees in total. Next slide. Other company, Nutanix, $2 billion company. So keep on going on. Cognizant Technology, 39.78 billion, 281,200 employees. So the list goes on. List goes on. The entrepreneurial spirit exists within the Indian psyche and heart. That's why we came to America, to add value to America. I believe in that. I think that is the truth. That is the reality. We are taught to be humble in our culture. But this is who we are. We're entrepreneurs. We create value in society. And we came here and we created value. And I've seen it with my own eyes, my own life experience. Seeing my clients, creating great lives for not only themselves, for their children, and adding value everywhere. Next, please. Okay, I want to talk about STEM enrollment in college. So during Trump administration, the number of Indian students enrolled in graduate level computer science and engineering courses at US universities had declined by over 25% between 2016 and 2019. America is not that destination of first choice as it used to be for graduate students. A lot of them are going to Canada, Australia, and it's just, there's a decline. Next slide, please. You will see the graduate level enrollment of Indian students at US University. Now, this is the Department of Homeland Security numbers. Engineering, 2016, 2017, there were almost 40,000. 2017, 2018 academic year, 32,000. 2018, 2019, there are around 28,000. Computer science also progressively declining from 47,430 in 2016, 2017 to 36,350. So there's a decline going on. Next, please. Even if you look at the investment visa category, and, from 2010 to 2015, there was almost $11 billion investment made by investment visas, which generated around 276,000 jobs in the US. And so they contributed around 37.9 billion in the US economy in terms of gross domestic product. So, and then the tax revenues were almost 5.5 billion. Next, please. So then what is happening here? What is happening is immigration became a political issue. First, it was undocumented immigrants. Then embrace legal immigration. And therefore, the policies have become restricted and truncated, and everything is being thrown under, higher American as far as American immigration is concerned. So this EB-5, which was working beautifully, got stifled. The minimum investment amount before November 21st, 2019, went up from 1 million to 1.8 million. Then for the targeted employment areas where the unemployment is 150% of the national average, the amount went up from 500,000 to 900,000. Really impacted Indian investors. But in India, under the, I think, Reserve Bank of India rules, you can only take out $250,000 per taxpayer. So when it was 500,000 for the TEA regional center cases, it was easy. People would take out money in, February, and then they'll take out money after March 31st, and they'll get the 500,000, they'll invest. Now it's really hard. Now it's 900,000. So, it just became very restrictive. Next slide, please. For students, their proposed rules: a student enters the United States, a foreign student enters the US, duration of status. Now there's a proposal. No, we're going to give them for fixed period of time. Meaning 2 years, it's a graduate program, 4 years, it's the bachelor's. If they want to stay here longer, you have to file for extension, processing delays, things of that nature. So previously what people do is they go to a bachelor's degree, then they go to optional practical training, then they look at the H-1B scenario, go into the H-1B track, and then, hopefully I-140 petitions, green cards, and then they get the green cards. But all that stuff is getting stifled by such proposals. So next slide, please. Now, what is happening? Recently, the very interim final rules were promulgated in the area of prevailing wages, wage computation for H-1B visas, H-1B1 and E-3 visas, and for labor certification, which is a green card process, for wage determinations, and also H-1B amendments are made. And it was interesting, the vehicle to bring out and publish these rules was interim final rule, not final rule. I'll tell you the difference. When you go through the final rule process, the rule is first proposed. And then there's a comment period, usually between 30 to 60 days, but 60 days. Then the rule goes to the office, OMB, Office of Management Budget, in the Office of Information Regulatory Affairs. And then they okay it. It takes them a little bit of time, 30 to 60 days. And then the rule goes for publication in the Federal Register. And then the rule is published. So what happened is this process is not followed in the publication of DOL, prevailing wage and H-1B amendment rules. The interim final rule with respect to prevailing wages was made effective on October 8th. And they said, afterwards, we'll give you time to comment. So they didn't do that right before the election. Like I said, it's become a political issue. Right before the election, quote, higher American, they go ahead and dump this rule on us without going to the OMB, they waive it. And without getting comments beforehand, they'll say, we'll make you give the comments later. Now, the interesting thing is, next slide, please. The reason for doing this interim final rule being fast-tracked and publishing this interim final rule, the reason was because there's an emergency due to the rise in unemployment rate during the pandemic. Now, major chunk of the H-1B are technology visas. The technology visa, more than 33%. And many Indian H-1B applicants are technology companies. Now, it should be noted that prior to the pandemic, unemployment rate in the technology industry was 3%. The current unemployment rate in technology industry is 3.5. Not that big a difference. And then there are promulgations that H-1B visas will not be issued or L-1s will not be issued after June 23rd. And that's number one. Number two, these restrictive wage rules have come down. The H-1B amendments, which are restrictive, have also come down. How is this going to help America, where there are not many students really going to engineering schools? How is it going to help? I don't know. I don't know. But this policy is going to stifle many industries, I believe, in the US. Not maybe in the short term, maybe we have enough. But if we have these restrictive policies, I don't believe it's going to be very useful for the US economy, at least. And I don't know about the relationship between India and US. So next, please. So let's go next slide. Let me skip this. Now I want to tell you the change that occurred. So there are 4 levels of wages that the Department of Labor looks at, and they have their own OES wages. And there's level 1, which is the entry level for trainees, or a fresh hire out of a, bachelor's program. And there's level 2 for people who are somewhat more qualified. And level 3 is for experienced people. They're very experienced, they can hold their own, they can make independent decisions, and they can even supervise. Number 4 is competent. They're very competent, and they're like project leads, and CTOs or project managers. So the percentile of wages on October 8 just jumped. If level 1 on October 7th was at the 17th percentile, it jumped to 45. For somebody who just new into the field after education. And look at that. Prior to October 8th, level 3 was 50%, and subsequent to October 8th, level 1 is 45%. So in other words, level 3 wages prior to October 8th, after October 8th, are being paid to level 1. It's ridiculous. So, and this rule was published 2 days before they became effective. On October, they were published on October 6th, and they became effective on October 8th. Something wrong going on here. They're trying to kill H-1B visas, basically. That's what's going on. So next slide, please. Let's go to another slide after this. I want to keep my presentation short. Next, please. Even the H-1B visa amendments have occurred. So let's take a good example. One of the key things you have to show in an H-1B is the job is so unique and complex that at a minimum requires a bachelor's degree to perform the job. So we have to show it's a specialty occupation. So in the past, many, many years ago, we could get a guy who's a coder who has a bachelor's degree, say in mathematics or physics, and we could get this person the H-1B as a software engineer applications. Now what they're talking about is forget that. Can't do it. It has to be directly related. The degree has to be directly related to the field. So it's got to be in a computer science degree, computer engineering, or if you've done mathematics, let's see how many computer courses you've done, which should really equate to a concentration or a specialization or a minor in that field. So becoming more restricted. Next slide, please. Then third-party work sites, meaning if there's a staffing company and they have a purchase order, statement of work, an MSA with a third party, usually H-1Bs are granted for 3 years with an extension of 3 more years. And then you can have extensions beyond there, but there are certain other rules I won't get into. Now they're saying if it's a third-party work site, which is like a customer site or a client site, they're not going to give the visa for more than 1 year. It's good for me, I guess, in business-wise, maybe, but doesn't make sense. And the reason is, so in other words, let's say Cisco or Google or whatever it is, they've got a project that lasts 3 years. But every year, if you place somebody in those companies, the maximum you can get is 1 year. And then every year you have to get another extension, another extension. So what they're doing is they're making it difficult to conduct business by using the H-1B category. So, so that's basic. So the reasoning, actually, I tell you the reasoning behind this is because the US government says, well, every year these corporations, have their own budgeting allocations. So we don't know if the job is genuine. It could be speculative. And the budget is a matter of routine. If they have really said that a project is going to last 3 years. But they have gone carte blanche, not case by case, and said, no, we're going to give the visa for only 1 year. So it seems that under the current administration, immigration from India to the US definitely has become more difficult, more restrictive. And I think America has benefited enormously. Given a talent pool, I think 65% of our population in India is 35 or less. And we have a tremendous workforce that can really contribute to the United States, as it has done in the past. So that's my presentation. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Goswami, for giving us your valuable views and sharing with us your findings and opinions. Now we come to the last session of the webinar, the question answer session. The participants may put up their questions in the chat column. I guess we already have a question for Dr. Acharya from Wayne Larkins. The question says, what exactly are the future plans of USIIC US chapter? What are going to be its core activities? Dr. Acharya?
Yes. So actually, it was happened that on February 26, his US chapter was formed. And immediately after this, there was a pandemic situation, so we couldn't, as we planned. But now, as we learned how to live with this pandemic situation, we plan that we shall have some MOU with several states of USA and to contact Chamber of Commerce to find out right partners for export and import. Also to help industries in both the countries about custom laws, because it is a bottleneck for the business for both the countries. Also to have more such webinars. It gives a better understanding of many areas. And one very big thing we are planning, that is e-Expo. E-Expo, exporters of US as well as exporters of India, they'll be having their stalls on the websites, and we'll conduct that e-Expo that we are planning with USIIC. It is still in pipeline, will work out, and that is our what we are planning for future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Acharya. That was a really nice answer. And this has been a very interactive session. And it's like, very, very nice to have such knowledgeable people with us. And now I would like to request Mr. N.R. Srinivasan to propose his vote of thanks. But before that, I'd like to introduce Mr. Srinivasan. Mr. N.R. Srinivasan is a civil engineer by profession and is the president of USIIC Mumbai region. He's the executive director of Fuji Silver Tech Concrete Private Limited, a Japanese consortium company. He has got a rich experience in his field and has worked in important positions with a large corporation with great repute. So I request Mr. Srinivasan to propose his vote of thanks.
Thanks a lot, Nasif. Thanks a lot for the kind words. It has been really a wonderful webinar. It's a wow, I should say. On behalf of USIIC, I thank all the panelists for their wonderful insight and thoughts on two countries and one goal. My special thanks to Mrs. Brenda Vanon on highlighting how both India and United States can seek a shared vision of bilateral relations over the coming decades. And Dr. Acharya, thanks a lot and congratulations. You have started this year's chapter with a bang. And congratulations to you as well as to Mrs. Bella. I think there are many more events to come, and what a start it had been for the year's chapter. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thanks to all the panelists for the wonderful intellectual activity we had today. Thanks, Mrs. Mela, Mrs. Laura, Dr. Dinesh, Dr. Ajay, Dr. Varinder, and Mr. Virender, and for all your insights and inputs as to how the two countries can come together on a shared vision. Well done, Massey and Robin, for the wonderful coordination in making this webinar a great success, especially being the first event for the USIIC chapter of US chapter of USIIC. My special thanks to Mr. Abhijit of USCS for all his cooperation in putting this webinar together. Last but not the least, I thank all the participants. There are quite a good number of participants, though it's being the dead of the night in India. There has been a good appreciable participants, and without you, this wouldn't have been a great success. Thanks a lot for everybody. And I hope to see many more events like this. And with my congratulations to the year's chapter, and to my and also my special thanks to our chairman, Mr. Pillai, for encouraging this, for encouraging us to do this. I should say that Mrs. Brenda Vanon has been a big catalyst in all our activities of the USIIC, and I'm sure that she will always be with us in all such events and making it better and better. And thank you very much. Good evening and good night, and we'll meet once again. Thank you very much.
Well done, Acharya. Well done, Acharya. It was a great event.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your efforts. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
See you all soon in India.
Thank you all of you.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, we'll see you sometime in India soon.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
We've come to a close of this seminar. It has been an excellent event, and the overwhelming response that we've received has definitely encouraged us to plan more of such webinars in the future, and about which you can expect us to keep you informed. Thank you so much, everyone. You have a great night in India and great rest of the day for US.
Thank you.